Yo, yo. Why is this? Okay. Yo, yo. Why is this? Okay. Alright, I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to hop in. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to hop in here before we get going. If you have any questions, you have pairs you want me to look at, anything like that, put it in the chat and I will make sure to go over that. As usual, I'm going to go over the basics, which are going to be the dollar to start out with, which is going to determine risk on, risk off. And then we're going to go with the index futures I look at, which are going to be NASDAQ. We'll cover all three of the index futures as well as gold. And then we can head over into the currency side. And anything else you want me to look at or you guys have questions for me, we'll go over those as well. If you guys can do me a favor, let me know that you guys can see the screen clearly and you can hear me clearly before we get started. Perfect. All right. And like I said, any questions about anything I say, pairs you want me to look at, or concepts that you hear me talk about in my daily reviews, or stuff like that, or you heard in my spaces, please don't be afraid to ask me while you have me here today. So, getting into the dollar. The dollar, I'm really going to be just kind of continuing my expectations of higher prices, specifically to this high here. First, this high here is going to be where I expect dollar to make its decision because of the accumulated buy side that we have right here. So for me, this is a logical area where even if I'm macro bearish dollar, which based on all recent things with financial policy and stuff we should be, even if I'm macro bearish dollar, this would be my logical area where I can make my continuation. This imbalance right here is largely unfilled, unmitigated. There's actually no candle bodies inside of it, and you have accumulated buy stops below it. So this is a high probability draw. Now, if I get a clear displacement higher above this high, then I'll look for these highs up here. And then to trade that lower. To do so, I'm really going to be looking at these two imbalances. I'm going to see how Monday wants to trade. If we get session SMT while we're trading inside of this imbalance here, then I'll look to trade that higher. If we're looking to violate that on Monday and then create that same signature On Tuesday, session SMT while I'm trading inside this, which is the order block plus the imbalance. Then I'll look to trade from there. Obviously, that's the signature I'm looking for, which is the session SMT, followed by displacement. So I'm just going to plot these two here or here. Ideally, if tomorrow's going to take us higher, it'd be from here. If Tuesday were to be taking us higher, it'd be from here. That would be how I frame that. Take a screenshot for the chat. Okay. Now, moving on to NASDAQ. So, we traded lower to close out, to start the week, I'm sorry. Monday defied the range, created SMT at the highs. Our asset failed the highs. YM took them. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday traded lower into this imbalance. Thursday created low of the week, as you guys had heard me pointing your guys' attention to. I think Tuesday or Wednesday. Unfortunately, Friday we didn't get the displacement that I was looking for initially. So, zooming into this range, they left us one imbalance in here, which is this. So if they want to trade lower, and I believe this is also the hourly, it overlaps a little bit. And you also have this liquidity here. If they want to go higher from here, and I say that if, they're going to be doing it from this imbalance. Now, they can, since Friday was still an inside day, let's clear all this up. Since Friday was still an inside day, they can just go make SMT at that low, because that low is not protected. Both sides are actually liquidity. They can go make SMT at this low. In this instance, I would ideally like to see NQ take this low. Why? Because NQ failed the low previously. So at these lows, which is Thursday and Friday, sorry, the lows inside Thursday that made low of the week, NQ was the asset to fail. So ideally, I would want to see NQ be the asset to take liquidity to then trade higher. So I'm going to look at these two areas and their reactions when we trade into them. Here, and then as far as targets go, I'd be just looking for the internal to external play, with these flat highs being super attractive draw. So I'm going to be looking for buy side to be delivered from here. I'm really messing up my path tool right now. I apologize. And now if I don't get that reaction I'm looking for there, I'll be looking for it here. But the reaction I'm looking for is the same, just like I described on dollar. To define low of the week, I'm going to be looking for a session SMT at a key low or in a key PD array, and then a fractally aligned shift in structure. And then we can start aligning ourselves with that order flow for 1 to 2 days until this draw of liquidity is met. Describe BPR. Which BPR? This right here is the 15-minute on NASDAQ. Were you referring to NASDAQ? You're referring to a different asset or a different time frame? NORAD. I'm gonna get to gold. I'll definitely get to gold. Gold is one of my most favorite pairs to trade right now, specifically in the PM session. Sorry, not PM session, Asia session. I'm working on developing a bias-free model for trading gold in those time windows. No, right, if you can tell me which BPR you want me to refer to, I'll come back to your question, but until then, I'm going to move on. Sorry, brother. Okay, took a screenshot of that. Now, I'm going to pull up all three assets on the daily. Should be here. Okay, so ideally, YM would take the low if we're gonna take this low. But to me, it's not gonna be required. Now, if they go and seek out this high early in the week, then I'll have to revisit my bias, because this would be my weekly draw. So if they don't draw lower and they draw higher first, that would make me rethink what weekly profile I'm expecting. Also, keep in mind, the next 2 days are going to be quarterly and monthly close. So look at these two charts, the monthly chart and the quarterly chart of the assets you're trading, and see if you're going to be possibly closing to respect certain arrays. Like for YM, is it going to close above or below this swing high? That's what I'd be looking for on the monthly chart. Quarterly chart, I don't think that we're going to be close to anything. Yeah, same swing high for YM. That would really be it. I'm personally not a fan, really, of high time frame closes. I just viewed it as a PPR, so I'm curious. The daily, the SIBI you were targeting, it's not a BPR. So this is not a BPR. These are both fair value gaps, and this is a fair value gap, right? Higher, this, right, would be this would be a BPR technically. This July 30th candle, this right here, this would technically be a PPR. But for me, what's most notable in this delivery of price is that there's no buy side offered in this imbalance, right? So we have accumulated buy stops in the imbalance. But you can use either, right? If you wanted to refine this level just into this, we 100% could. And if I didn't trade, if I left this unfilled entirely, like this wick was below this wick and didn't trade here, my focus would be this level. This would be a more sensitive area of price, way to refine it. This, for me, is the only thing. I don't need to come all the way up into this. This swing high right here, for me, is as high as I'd be looking for it to draw, and a sharp reaction from that to trade lower. But if that swing high wasn't there, I wouldn't be targeting the fair value gap. I'd be refining to the BPR. All right, so we went over the dollar, we went over the indexes. Now let's go into gold. Gold is pretty much the same thing as last week, right? I wanted us to trade higher, then create a fair value gap, and then to trade lower, create SMT inside the fair value gap, and then trade away. Now, is there anything we can reference down here? I don't think so. There's really no projections that I would be considering in this leg of price. These have been hit already. These have been hit already, right? Yeah. And then these are rather large. I would say this is these two candles right here, the actual breaker that we're referencing. But when I have a range that big, I'm not going to be leaving this on my chart because accomplishing essentially 4,200 could take a very long time. So it's not going to give me any real indication on price. I'm just going to be using lower time frame expansions to measure that. Let's see if there's anything higher time frame we can pull. I remember calling this low. That's funny as hell that we're still working on this. It's a 3-month setup. Okay. Yeah, there's really nothing to reference as far as looking at targets. And I don't really believe in big figure targets. Like some people will look at like 3,900, 3,950, 4,000. I'm not really about that. So first order of business is going to be here, and then I'm just going to be playing daily expansions above that. Once I close above that high, I'm going to be looking at this down close candle to support price. That's kind of it. So this is, you shouldn't need a lot of assistance identifying this, right? This is swing low, ran, closed above, imbalance, traded into, respected. Now we're trading higher. So this really should just be us looking into this high. Once we close above this, then I'll be looking if we leave anything, right? If we displace above this high, I'm going to be looking at the gap between that closure and this swing high as a way to frame like a low of day target, because at that point it would be a balanced price range, right? If I close above this high, this swing high here, and then the following day I trade back down into the high of this wick, there would be no imbalance that could be left in that sequence, which then we could just trade higher. But for now, it's really just observing what we're doing at this high. Okay. All right. So for the currency market or the crypto market or any other market, is there anything specifically you guys want me to look at before we continue? Alright, I'll take that as a no. No worries. So we'll hop into what we did last week. Okay. So realistically, for this, if we're going to continue lower into these lows, I would just want this fair value gap to be respected. I wouldn't really want a trade above this high from Thursday. I want this to show me some expansion quickly. Now, why would I want that? Because this swing low would have confirmed this breaker to send us lower. We closed against that as a sweep. If we close against that as a sweep, to me, that is a signal that this is not the true move. The true move is higher. So until we close below, like I would want this candle to trade into this fair value gap and then close below this swing low. creating a high time frame swing high, and then we can trade the continuation on Tuesday into these lows. Pretty simple. Okay, I did EU. I think I did GJ. I think GJ was the only call I made last week that doesn't look like it's working out. Once we started to respect this imbalance and breaker, we should have seen continuation. So right now what it looks like is this candle body is range is the target. So I'm going to see what we do with this high. Personally, there's really nothing else for me to do. We can still sweep out this high and go lower. So until then, not much more input from me. Solana and oil, I got you. Solana's my baby. Solana is my baby. Okay, want that line out of there. Alright. Do oil first. This is it. Actually, I'm gonna put oil in my futures trading. Okay. CL. I haven't looked at oil in a minute, so give me a second. Okay. What have we done? Realistically, a whole lot of nothing. I'm gonna be really honest with you. Brother, I'm honestly not even going to give analysis on this chart. You're trading an equilibrium of two ranges. So realistically, what I would be doing is I'd be grading both ranges, and I'd be looking at liquidity at the edges of the ranges to trade, to be honest with you. Like, I'd be looking at this high and this low and trading those, because you're trading at equilibrium of two high time frame ranges. Now, that's not to say that you can't trade this market, but this doesn't interest me at all Now, if I had to give like my opinion, that would probably be it right there. Normally, when I'm looking for that signature, I like to have an imbalance resting below it, which you have a small one here. This imbalance down here. I'll make this a box so it's clear. Okay, I would normally like that imbalance to be much bigger. This one has already been mitigated, so I wouldn't necessarily be looking to target that, but it has an imbalance below resting sell side. You had a failure swing that got put in. We traded above that failure swing into the volume imbalance, and we have a rejection, right? So now you can possibly drop into your hour. Actually on the hour it's much cleaner, to be honest with you. Below this, below that, boom, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That would be what if I had to choose, I'd be waiting for a closure below that low to target these lows in the external range and this imbalance. But honestly, I'm not even going to post a photo of that. We can come back to it next week because that's not something I'd be really entertaining, just because this looks gross. This doesn't interest me at all. Solana. Okay. Crypto in general is in an interesting spot. Okay. I would be ideally looking for this weekly to close above here. $2 and change. Unlikely in the next 15 minutes. That would be ideal. So -2, -2.5 standard deviations are logical retracement areas. We'd run into -2, we form a breaker, we trade lower, right? So if I'm not getting a CSD immediately from this area of sell side liquidity, I'd be looking for this imbalance with this breaker to take us lower into these accumulated lows to then take us higher. Now I think any short-term pump in crypto is going to be the end of the cycle. There's a pretty decent chance that the Bitcoin top is, if not within a couple of percent of being in my opinion. Normally the high of the cycles typically come in around November. So I would be looking to offload my bullishness in the next couple of months, really the next 2 months. Whatever you're going to hold long term, obviously keep holding on to that, but I would be clipping some, taking profits, and then scaling back in on the way down. But yeah, as far as Solana, if I don't get the CSD right here, close above here and just displace higher, specifically through this, if I see consolidation through this in here, I'd be expecting these lows to be taken out at -2, -2.5 standard deviations. Anybody else? Anyone else want me to look at anything else? No? Alright, gang. That is likely to wrap it up for me. If no one else has any questions or wants me to look at anything else, I know I kept it pretty simple. At the end of the day, I use 4 tools to navigate price, which is SMT, standard deviations, breakers, and imbalances. And I guess 5 if you count liquidity. So it doesn't need to be complicated. But with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. I did record the session. What is up, Ben? Nice name. I did record the session, so unless Ben had something that he wanted me to look at, that is gonna be it for your boy. Can you show us the list of indicators, please? So there's actually no indicators on this layout, but the layout that I trade, I essentially only use 2 indicators, which are this session SMT indicator, which is a private indicator, but that's what's putting these lines on my chart. And then this indicator, I believe, is public. I've had this one for years, which is the ICT Kill Zone and Pivots by TFO. Really good. I trade session liquidity and key opens, so this essentially just makes my life easier. It plots all the times for me. So I'm taking my deviations of whether it be digital open or true day open, or 10 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock, depending when and where in the delivery I'm trying to reference and size. This makes it easy. Also, it makes it super easy being able to just visualize, okay, what sessions from what days are still available, right? Because I also look at certain sessions more closely, or more importantly, than others. But none of that is nothing that can't be done manually, right? There's no hidden information on my chart. It is key opens, session liquidity. So key opens being the digital candle, the 12 o'clock open, and then typically the 4-hour opens, or also like the news open or equities open. Those are the high time frame or important times I note. And then SMT with 15-minute, 4-hour, 1-hour session, daily, weekly, stuff like that. No problem. Thank you guys for hopping in. A recording will be up if you guys wanted to go over it. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. Typically, quarterly and monthly closes aren't too exciting. Typically, it's oscillation around the potential closing price, whether it wants to respect highs or lows or PD arrays, stuff like that. So be careful this week. I believe we have NFP this week. Let's see. I haven't even looked at the news schedule yet. Yeah, we have. It's honestly a very good a very good news week. Specifically, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday would have most of my focus. So don't go crushing your guys' accounts and stuff like that. Maybe ignore Wednesday because of OPEC if you don't like trading during OPEC, which is fine because it's an all-day meeting. But yeah, same thing as last week. The tail end of the week is going to have most of my interest. I'll post that roadmap and photo as well after the 8 o'clock football game. Till then, you guys be safe. We'll talk soon. All right? Peace.